Ah, yes, the fire giant. A towering, flame-spewing behemoth whose design screams final exam, but whose execution feels more like an awkward group project where nobody knows what they're doing, including him.
We're almost there. The flame of ruin lies just ahead.
This is part of my Elden Ring's Hardest Bosses series, and yeah, sure, technically he's on that list, but let's just say he's here because of his size, not his skill. Today we're gonna walk through how to handle this walking barbecue pit like a pro, or at least like someone who doesn't get squashed by his flaming sled for 20 minutes. Before we jump into it, a quick reminder to like the video and subscribe if you're into Elden Ring, bad jokes, and boss fights that are only hard if you bring a stick to a firestorm. It helps a lot, and if nothing else, it gives me validation for all the times this guy pancaked me during the recording. Here's what we're doing in this video. First, we're going to talk prep work because this giant doesn't respect shortcuts. Then I'm going to show you the demonstration and where I turn him into a foot stew. Then we'll cover the build and incantations real quick I use to absolutely melt him, and then I'll wrap up things with the usual sarcastic summary. Alright, let's talk prep, and by prep, I mean optional side quests you can do if you feel like making things harder for yourself. Yes, you can summon Alexander the Jar Boy for this fight, if you followed his questline, been nice to him, and didn't shatter him like a ceramic vase. But there's a catch. Summoning him disables Torrent, and if you fought the fire giant without Torrent, you know it's like trading your car for a pair of Crocs on a freeway. So yeah, sure, bring Alexander if you're emotionally attached, but I'll be zipping around on my spectral steed, thank you very much. Other than that, no real prep needed. Just bring your best foot targeting abilities, some flame resistance, and if you care about this sort of thing, a healthy respect for rolling ankles. Alright guys, so we're gonna go in here and try not to overcomplicate this. We're gonna try and make quick work of this fire giant. So the first thing I'm gonna do is summon Black Knight Tiche. He is very critical for this fight, or she, I should say. But once we got her out, you want to be able to use your Torrent to close the distance. So that's why I primarily am going to focus on using Torrent. And you want to watch out for attacks like that. And once you get in here and you get close enough, you want to focus on that leg over there. You want to avoid being in a spot that gets you rolled on too. So again, we're just using Torrent to kind of close the distance. And I'm gonna hop off. And he's rolling again. Close the distance. And he's focused on me now. Focus on that leg again and dodge that. Try and close this distance again. And here we go. Look at Black Knight PJ wearing him down. Kind of want to avoid all the fallen little rocks. Get back on Torrent. Get over here and get this last hit. Bruh. Easy peasy. Just like that, fire giant is dead. Okay, so now let's get into what I used for this build to make quick work of this fire giant. So before breaking down the individual elements and talking about each piece individually, the whole overall idea was basically fire resistance and blood loss. The fire giant is weakest to a slash type of weapon, so the Bloodhound's Fang is a perfect combination of slash damage and blood loss. It synergizes very well, so it's easy to get early on, so that was the main weapon that I used in defeating him. The next thing that I used specifically for causing the buff was the blood Nagakiba, and that's for using that seppuku buff to trigger blood loss. That also synergized with the white mask that gives you an extra damage boost when blood loss is triggered, and it also synergized with the Lord of Blood's exaltation for the very same reason. Blood loss just gave me a little bit more attack power, and I went in using this so I could go ahead and have that buff while I was attacking him. That kind of synergized with causing blood loss as well and triggering it again, hopefully. The finger seal is the usual seal that I use to kind of go with those two incantations that I used. Well, the one incantation, I should say. I had the flame grant me strength on there, but I did not use it for this fight. It's just one of my typicals. I did, however, use the blessing of the Erd Tree, and the finger seal, complemented that. Now, as far as the armor that I used, again, white mask was for the blood loss, but these three, the Rakshasa set, were basically to give me, that added additional damage bonus. The trade-off for this that I should probably make you aware of, if you're not already, is that you also take more damage when you have this equipped. You cause more damage, but you also take more damage. Moving on to my wondrous physique, that's kind of why I had the opaline hard tier to kind of negate some of that and kind of balance that out for that Rakshasa set. I also had the stone barbed crack tier to try and break his stance easier. I don't know that that worked, but I put it on there because it seemed like something worth trying. You could have probably replaced it with something else, like the one that gives you a damage boost for successive attacks. I can't remember what it's called, but you could have easily swapped that for something else. The biggest one here was the damage negation from the opaline hard tier. Now, the other talismans that I had the two-handed sword talisman, which I did not use a two-handed sword, but if I had, it would have automatically given you a 1.5 damage multiplier by doing that. I have fought him a few times using this, and it does help, but I did not use it like an idiot in this video. But you still saw how easy it was to take him down. If I had used my two-handed weapon like I was supposed to, he would have died all that much quicker. Again, I already talked about the Lord of Blood's exaltation. That was on there for the blood loss. And then I had the Shard of Alexander for the skill that I also did not use. These are just a couple things that I threw in there extra, and you could easily swap these for something else if you want to. But the most important two out of this, which I didn't talk about this one, which is the Flame Drake Talisman. Of course, he's a fire boss, so this is for negating some of that fire damage. If you don't have the DLC, you can just get the Flame Drake Talisman +2. Same thing going on there, just fire negation. There's also items that will help you negate fire. But this one, the two-handed sword and the Shard of Alexander, probably can be swapped out because, to be honest, I didn't use it. They were just two empty slots, but that's how easy he was. Now, finally, for my summon, I just used the Black Knife Tiche, primarily to distract him, but as you saw, it also took huge chunks of damage off of the fire giant. I feel like that second phase was primarily won by the Black Knife Tiche, so this is the summon that I recommend. So that was the fire giant, Elden Ring's flaming foot fetish. Not the hardest, not the smartest, but definitely the largest. If you're properly equipped, know how to dodge, and remember that his weak spot is a literal exposed wound the size of a canoe, you'll be fine. But hey, get caught underfoot too many times or forget your flame resistance, and this fight can turn from mild inconvenience to a hot disaster real fast. And unlike a lot of bosses in this game, he's not optional. You have to beat him to move forward. So even if you don't like the fight, there's no, nah, I'll come back later. It's him or nothing. But hey, at least once he's done, you get to go commit war crimes at the Forge of the Giants. Progress. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons. And once again, Winks out.